We're going to go through how much doctors are going to get paid from now up until 2026. So if you're still watching it in 2025, 2026, 2024, it's still going to be relevant. Let's go through it. And this is because we just signed an agreement. Well, I didn't sign anything, but all the hospitals around Victoria signed an agreement that said doctors will get paid this amount and they'll get reimbursed at this rate and everything like that. They signed a big agreement called the EBA. Essentially just means like the binding agreement that all hospitals have to follow to make sure that the doctors get paid at these specific rates. There's been a whole lot of class actions in the past where, you know, people haven't been paying people right and then they have to complain and then they went through legal stuff and everything like that. Anyways, it's all agreed on now that we'll get paid this rate up until 2026 inclusive of that year. So now let's go through how much we're actually going to get paid. And yeah, let's start off with where we're going to find out all that information. And I think that the best thing to do is you can read the document. The document is like super long and you know, arduous to get through, or you can just go on DiT Paycheck and they summarize it so nicely for you. So if you haven't heard of DiT Paycheck before, what it is essentially a website and also an app where you can check your payslip, you can enter in your shifts, and then they generate a paycheck report for you. And they essentially give you, once you've entered all your shifts for that particular roster, they can actually generate a pay report, like a mock payslip, which shows you how much you should be paid. So if there's any discrepancies between health services or between what you put into this system, which is what you should be paid, versus the payslip that you actually get, then you can show it to the pay office if you want. So let's go through what an intern gets paid, and that's a HMO year 1 is also known as an intern, so hospital medical officer. So the ordinary rate that they get paid at, like the usual hourly rate, is $42.07 an hour. And like we work 38 hours per week as an intern. Registrars are rostered for 43 hours a week. If you're on weekends, then you'll actually get paid $63.10 per hour. And that's essentially from midnight on Friday till midnight on a Sunday. And yeah, if you work on a public holiday, then that's 250% of your normal rate. So 250% of $42.07. And yeah, apparently
Grandpa just gives me a remote after we watch the Powerball.
Apparently you can have this thing where you get like, you know, instead of getting paid this rate of like $105 an hour, you can instead choose to have 1.5 days added to your annual leave. And I don't know, I've never actually seen that. Technically it's in the agreement. Let me know if you actually have done that before, or if you've heard of someone do that, or how easy it is to do that. I actually don't know. I think I'd rather just money. But if you're planning a big trip or you'd rather have annual leave, then sure, take that. Yeah, at night, if you finish a shift after midnight, so when you're on night shift, I feel like that's the only time you get paid this amount, so $52.58 an hour. So shifts finishing after midnight or beginning between midnight and 6:30 a.m. There you go. Yeah, if you finish after 6 p.m, then you get a late finish penalty. So I've actually shown this a couple of times in my other payslip videos. If you finish after 6 p.m, maybe you're rostered until 8 or 8:30 p.m, then you'll get paid for that whole shift. And then an additional like add-on bonus, I guess, you'll get this amount. And that's just a once-off payment for that particular shift. Let's say if you have 2 shifts in a fortnight, which finish after 6 p.m, they both finish at 8 o'clock, then you'll get paid, you know, your usual amount for that fortnight, plus an extra 2 times that amount. So about $80 extra. And yeah, that'll just be added on because you did 2 shifts that finished after 6 p.m. If you're, you know, doing some overtime and your overtime's, you know, between Monday and Saturday, the first 2 hours are paid at this rate, so $63.10 an hour. Now, I'm pretty sure that's just 1.5 times the hourly rate. So I'll just double check that. But yeah, 1.5 times that is $63.10 an hour, pretty sure. And that's for the first 2 hours if it's between Monday and Saturday. If you work after 2 hours of overtime, so if you do more than 2 hours of overtime between Monday and Saturday, then the rest of those hours are paid at this rate, which is essentially just double the hourly rate. Yeah, obviously, that's easy. If you work on Saturdays or Sundays, then you just get paid the weekend rate. But if you do any overtime on Sunday, then that's paid at this rate, $84.13 an hour. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have to do a shift at short-term notice, this is the same rate as the late finish penalty. So if someone tells you, if workforce tell you have a shift to do, or there's a change in shift, and that's 8 to 14 days before that shift takes place, then you get this amount. If, however, it's 7 days or less, then you actually will get double that amount in addition to that shift, you know. So you get paid for whatever the shift is. In addition, you'll also get this add-on bonus because there was a late notice of the changes. So yeah, I mean, this is all the rates that you'll get paid for as a first year doctor, an intern, and these rates will be the same up until 2026 inclusive, unless there's like some dramatic change in the EBA, the agreement for doctors and how much we get paid and everything like that. So yeah, that's that. Let's go through the second year. And there's a little bit of a change. I mean, there's a slight increase in the hourly rate, $44.74 an hour. And then of course, there's more like increases throughout. So $67 per hour for weekends, public holidays, and night rates. You can just do the maths and like figure out how much you actually get paid more than an intern, but it's like $2 more per hour. And then based on that ordinary rate, the weekend rates are higher, the overtime rates are higher, public holidays rates are slightly higher. The short notice penalty, interesting, is slightly more, but the late finish penalty is actually the same. So yeah, whatever that is, I don't really know why that is, but for some reason they've kept that the same, but then the short-term notice penalty is actually slightly higher. So yeah, HMO 1 intern is your first year working as a doctor. HMO 2 is your second year working as a doctor. HMO 3 is your third year working as a doctor. Now, after that, it actually gets a little bit interesting. So essentially you go through this, you can figure out what category of doctor you're in, but the way it works is essentially you'll get paid at whatever level you are. It's not how well you do work at or anything like that. You get paid on how senior you are and then also what position you are in. So for the first 3 years, you'll be HMO year 1, 2, or 3. And then after that, you'll get paid depending on what role you have as a doctor. So if you are a registrar, then you get paid at the registrar rates at however many years you are into the registrar role. If you're not a registrar, so essentially just still a resident, then you'll get paid at these rates. So medical officer year 1 is essentially your 4th year working as a doctor, but you're not a registrar. Medical officer year 2 is your 5th year working as a doctor, but you're not a registrar or any other position, and then so forth. If you become a senior medical officer, so that's like a consultant, then you get paid at this rate, which is $83 an hour, and all the subsequent, remunerations are there listed below. It's all based off your ordinary rate. Senior medical officer year 3 plus, you get paid at this rate, and then when you get to your 3rd year working as an SMO, a senior medical officer, then you just get paid at this rate in the public hospital, and if you keep working for longer, then you get paid at the same rate as this. It just doesn't change after you keep working for 3 years or more as a senior medical officer. So yeah, and I guess like, sure, like the medical officer year 6 plus, like you could get paid at this forever and not actually specialize in a particular area of medicine. But then if you want to specialize and you want to actually get onto a training program and go into a specific field, then you have to get onto a training program and you'll have to become a registrar. And then after you become a registrar and finish that, then you'll eventually become a senior medical officer. So that's the way that works. And yeah, so it's all sort of summarized here pretty nicely. You can go through the EBA itself if you want this in a different format, but I find having a little drop-down box, selecting what position you're in, and then looking at your rates and comparing it to other positions or the year before or the future year that you're going to be in, it's really interesting and super helpful. Yeah, it's a super easy and digestible way to understand everything there is about money and everything as a doctor. And if you want, I mean, you can just put in your shifts and then it can actually, you know, generate this whole payslip for you based on the hours that you work for a specific fortnight or month, or however often you get paid as a doctor. So yeah, I won't go through every single year of being a doctor and how much you get paid, but essentially you can just look at this, go down in the drop down box. You can compare the rates of an intern to a senior medical officer in their second year. You can see the rate that they get paid at per hour is $87.33. Compare that to a first year doctor, which is essentially half of that. And then just going back to the senior medical officer, like their public holiday rates are at $218 an hour. The night shift rates are at $109 an hour. And then all this other stuff as well, overtime at 1.5, this overtime at 2 times. So yeah, you can see how it increases. I mean, all this is just for the public hospital system. Private is a completely different story, but let's just pick one other one. So say you're a registrar in your 4th year, you'll get paid at $64.88 an hour. Your public holiday rates will be 250 times that. Well, not 250 times that, but 250% of that. So 2.5 times that, which is $162 an hour. And yeah, the late shift, the late finish penalties, $60 per shift. And if you're given a shift on short notice, then that's $69, pretty much $70 for that extra amount that you get paid on top of the shift that you've just worked. So yeah, I think it's really easy and straightforward to use this DiT Paycheck to essentially look at how much you get paid. Just as a brief overview and out of interest, the real benefit is in this app to put your shifts in, and then you put in your start time, your date that you do the shift, the end time, and then what type of shift that it is. If it is a shift that's rostered within 7 days notice, then if you recall that, you'll get paid that extra short notice penalty in addition to the shift. If it's a shift where you're recalled to hospital, and then you put in the time that you've been recalled for, and then that adds on extra as well. And if you're on exam leave or annual leave, then you'll just get paid at that usual amount. Yeah, so it's super easy. The main thing that I think is beneficial for this is putting in your shifts and then selecting your shifts and then getting a payslip generated from that. With the payslip that you get generated, you can actually compare that to the payslip that you actually get in real life from the hospital, and then you can look at if there's any discrepancies or not there. So yeah, so this is just like the web version, super helpful. Yeah, there's an app as well. So I haven't actually used the app properly yet, but I will be making a video coming up about the app and how to use that. that's how much doctors get paid, and that's how much they will get paid up until 2026 in Victoria at least. And if you're working in Victoria up at that time, then you can refer to this website, and it's super helpful and easy to understand. So yeah, it can be a bit confusing, but hopefully this has simplified it a little bit. So yeah, bye.